Hello, welcome to my channel for Evolved Humans. I am Ms. Day. This is a collective reading. Again. So, it's weird because I feel like, instantly, it seems like you have overcome your own kryptonite. Like you have gained control. You know? Jeez. Okay, so this is weird. This feels like, as a person, you have healed. You have opened up your abilities. You've opened up to them, I should say. Like consciously you're aware of them and you are becoming aligned with them, or at least with the fact that you have them. And there's something like, okay, I feel like you are, ear ringing for sure is happening. If you're getting ear ringing, it's an attention grabber. For whoever you are, this is weird. It's like an attention grabber. And I also felt at first that there's like masculine past loved one in your space. Okay. So another part of that, I heard the song, Oh Danny Boy. It's older. I don't know if everyone has heard it, but it's Oh Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. And I don't... It's actually very sad because I feel like it's someone saying goodbye to someone. Maybe? Sorry. So, okay. This is really strange because one of my first... I think that you need to be careful if you are open and very interested and kind of scoping out like the spiritual realm and all that. It's weird, but it's like some people are just not careful. And I'm not saying like be scared. That's not what I mean. It's more so you can sort of lose sight of what matters to you if you are not protecting yourself against low frequency waves that may be a negative intention as a force. 'Cause that's how negative... Okay, you already opened up. And I feel like this is really important. Like, I feel like the way that negative information messes with you... So like if I'm clearing a house, one of the ways that negative information messes with you is if it can swoop in and intercept your own force of will if you don't have a grip on it. Like if you don't have a grip on your own intention and you're super open, then you're kind of more susceptible, kind of like blowing in the wind, you know? More impressionable. That's why if you're not using your discernment, you are being impressionable. So, this is a little weird. I feel like you need to be careful and align with something true. Like align with what feels true in your mind all of the time. It's so easy to just open up and be like, oh my gosh, this is all so interesting. It's all so cool. This person has this idea. This philosophy sounds neat. But if you lose sight of something stable, you can get lost looking at everything, you know? So it's like really important to have a sense of identity as you're opening up. And if you are someone who I think there's a lot of healing that has happened because you have, I think that you have countered your past reactions that were bad, like negative reactions, by replacing it with positive physical actions in your lifestyle. I think for some of you, your child is the reason for that. Okay. It does feel almost like there's a past loved one masculine in here. Okay. And that's not all there is. Isn't that crazy? Because it's like overlapping. A past loved one is overlapping with a living experience. That's crazy. So anyway, going into like a house with negative activity in it, one of the ways that they screw with you, like that a negative force can screw with you, because I don't mean what they actually, who knows what the intention is of things in the universe. I don't know. But when something can, like low frequency, intercept with your willpower and alter what you would otherwise sort of just already by default know is false and step right over it, that's how they get you. This is where, if there's a house with a lot of negative activity happening, one of the things that seems freakishly common, but it's common, where if there's a lot of low frequency like activity, one of the things that can happen is where creepy activity will happen to each person living in a house, but it'll happen to each of them alone, because then no high frequency interactions can happen about it, which means it can stay low frequency. And that's a very, this is wild, because I thought this was going to be in my members only, and it isn't coming in until now. How weird. So this is where, once you experience that you are connected, it's very, like, you have a choice on what you're going to do with it. But if you can experience this stuff, it's like whatever growth you're willing to go through, like whatever fire you're willing to walk through for the good of yourself, for the good of others or those behind you who didn't get to do that before passing, like whoever you can make a reason for fighting battles that others won't fight or maybe just couldn't. It's like you need that to keep you solid so that you don't get distracted from something that can do that very thing. Like if you want to do something good with it, it's like whatever growth you're willing to go through, you can help guide others through. So the reason this is all weird, the way this ties in is you need to know that as you become open to this stuff, you are not playing a game. It is not like a tarot deck. You order a tarot deck and it's called a tarot game. It's called a game. But the real world, the consciousness, the energy stuff, it's like you are the tool that can manipulate energy stuff. So it's like, wouldn't that be the quickest way to intercept your own potential? By just swooping in and making you distracted from the fact that you can manipulate stuff? You have that physical power as a walking around human. So one of the things that I feel like, this is not everyone, but I feel like this reading, it feels so much like someone has been getting pulled in sort of low frequency directions. And I feel like you need to protect yourself against that pull. You need to recognize that as you become more open, the triggers actually can kind of show up a little more prevalent. Like it can just kind of be more visible because you're like, whoa, everything is visible. Excuse me. Okay. So, it seems like someone's having this battle in their mind. And I feel like guides are trying to get in. And all I mean when I say guides, like don't let me be another noise that's pulling you in a weird direction. Because the more questions you can pile in front of the truth, like the more time is being spent not getting a hold of that truth. And if you can't get a hold of that truth, then you can't do something with it. So the fact is, if we're all open and we're all able to do that, just think about all of the negative stuff that happens and the fact that we don't all know how to process stuff right to make it evolve through us. It's very easy to be pulled into negative, especially if you're trying to elevate to help evolve it. Because like I think I said in the last reading, it's like wherever you are needed, you're going to feel the pull. So whoever you are, this is weird. But some people, like I feel like you getting aligned with light as a frequency of guides is really important because I feel like there's not just one, there's not just two, there's not a certain club, but there are certain ties that maybe a past loved one feels to you that you actually experience internally because they are loving you. And like, okay, so like just an example of that, I had lost, I never met this certain past loved one that I experienced as a past loved one when I was realizing I could interact with dead people like we all can. I had never met this passed away person who was a member of my family. And I had one of those like soul crushing moments when you're in fetal position and you're like all just bleeding out a lot of past stuff from your core. I had one of those moments where I felt his presence. And the way I recognized that he was mine was, first of all, stuff I saw in my mind, which could have been made up if it didn't pair with all of the other sensations. And the other thing that I felt so sure of was that I felt that same exact feeling as when like certain men in my family had hugged me throughout my whole life. Like this certain cozy feeling had just kind of come through from this past loved one that I had never got to meet. I don't know what English I just spoke. Hopefully that worked out well. But the reason I'm saying that is because someone in here needs to trust what you know. And sometimes when you don't just trust a thing, or you don't have like a value system necessarily, like that you can just like say, a lot of times just trusting what love is, like you can legit know that. Even if you haven't experienced a good, full, loving relationship in human form. You are going to know what love is, even if your emotional reaction is to block it or like censor it or like not trust it. It is a part of your soul. Whatever that means. Like I can't verify that, can I? Anyway, if you're experiencing, that's another, oh my gosh, okay. So there's this thing that I think that this is not all of you, but I feel like someone is being kind of pulled into a twin flame type of jargon. I don't know if that's the right word, But just, there are so many people that talk about this type of thing. And like, you know what? I had heard about twin flames so much that I looked it up, and I wanted to know like what people were referring to, like what do they mean, a twin flame? Because I've been interacting with like dead people and clearing houses and stuff, and I've never gotten air of that. And I read, and maybe this isn't everyone's interpretation, so like I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but in this reading I was like not sure if it was gonna come out my mouth, and I feel like it has to. So this is one of those things that's a distraction from the truth. So the way to distract a person, what happens in like a low frequency, a really bad relationship. I don't know what movie this is. I keep picturing this movie where like some woman is in a really bad relationship. Sleeping with the Enemy? I don't know. I feel like Julia Roberts is in it. She's got her fun 80s hair. Anyway, okay, so it's something, okay, so like that's low frequency. What do they do? Oh my gosh, what does that do? What does that type of abusive type of person do in a relationship? That's a blatant example, whatever movie that is. They steal your sense of identity. So that, because if you don't have that core, then you're distracted away from it. If you're distracted away from your own truth, then you have nothing to fight for. That's what problems are you going to create? You don't see problems because you don't see clearly anymore. So it's like what they do is swoop in. That's what low frequency does. So like this is going to come in the form of your phone. This is going to come in media. This is going to be in weird things where you like used to like certain forms of entertainment, but you've evolved out of it because you didn't like After Effects, and it's going to come into view. This is going to be like that type of situation where while you're super open and trying to elevate, it's almost like these things get shaken up because you have the ability to step into a new level. So you have to see it. You have to be aware of all the levels. That way you can decide where to step. It's weird. Anyway, this twin flame type of feeling, the thing I looked up and read, the reason I just didn't like this interpretation. So if it's not what you mean, cool. But it was that there were two souls that like lived in two different bodies. It was like one soul that had been split between two different bodies or something. Anyway, I don't buy that. I don't align with that. And I feel like that type of stuff is a distraction from getting in touch with your own inner knowing. It's a distraction from your truth. The stronger you get at housing, processing, and evolving in this vehicle, like the better you get at that, you literally are more powerful as an intelligent being than just who's my other soul like bit. That doesn't make sense. Like there's so much to you. You have so much power in one human mechanism. It just doesn't make sense. I don't even know if the word mechanism is right. Anyway, it's weird. So if you're struggling in your mind with that stuff, like just one thing you can do is clear it all out and don't pay attention to anything and just kind of like go through and whoa. Again, I thought this was going to be in my members only, and it's coming into my mind right now. You need to know if you have anything to do with this like type of learning, like spirituality. I know I'm talking to people who do this stuff. As you're doing it, like something you need to know, you're allowed to take a break. Oh my gosh, like who's your human boss? When you're doing this type of work and you have your own practice, like it is so easy to just be constantly trying to elevate and get quicker at that and never take a break. And like it's the same as anything where like you need a moment. You need to be by yourself. It makes me think of that scene in Frozen 2 when Elsa is like so the water horse is trying to pound Elsa down into the water at first. before they are aligned with one another, because Elsa has to like create reins and grab hold of the water horse so that she can ride this horse out of the ocean. And it's like this weird little battle moment where it was like a control battle. And I feel like someone in here, whoever this reading is for, it's almost like they're telling you, like, this is when you open the spiritual, when you open up and you really start to, when you're aware of being open, it's like, it's not just the surface stuff. And so not only can you take a break, but this is the part that I wondered if this would be in the members only too. This is crazy because it isn't. When you are experiencing this stuff, you're going to experience it where you notice it. So like, let's just say you're like, oh, I notice sensational type of stuff, like something that causes a type of sensation in a person, like names, a quick memory, like the things to identify a past loved one. Sometimes that's just the beginner stage, and you can go deeper. So like, just remember that certain things like that, the awareness is one step. What you can do with it is like going all the way in. That's jumping off the cliff. So like, that's why it's really important to establish some truths that you are solidly on. And that has to do with, like, I believe, who's around you. I think it's really important to establish certain guides. And that's someone that you trust, someone that, gosh, and that's another thing, like, it's got to be something real. Don't trust something that doesn't look human in your mind. Don't trust it. It's not. How do we know if that's safe or not? You know what the doorway is? It's imagination. So if you receive through your imagination and you can create, then there's a fine line between trusting something that looks like an alien and says it's from this type of alien clan. Like, what are you interacting with? Like, you should trust something that you can be sure of, no matter what kind of physical or emotional sensations you're having. That's why, like, I feel like trusting that your vehicle is nourished and just doing breathing exercises is really important, just as a norm if you're opening up. So, and don't be scared. It's just that when you're aware, you're like hyper aware. It just becomes weird. And I also get the feeling that someone has overcome so much that, like, you're supposed to get control, because when you can do this stuff, like, I don't mean supposed to as in a destiny way. I mean supposed to as in, my God, you could be helpful. If you have this type of like willpower over your own self, oh my gosh, like, do not underestimate the power that comes with retraining a human that was trained badly. You know how they say, like, aliens would think we're stupid, so they wouldn't have any interest in us? I disagree. I think that aliens would think that we are so smart that they wouldn't trust us, because they're like, they're smart, and they use that smart for bad. They're like, we've seen documentaries. Like, that's just, there is nothing unintelligent about adapting to being a creature of habit, no matter what you're adapting to. Like, that's crazy, crazy smart. Okay. I hope that wasn't overkill. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you in the next video. Let me know if you want a personal reading. You can send me an email if you want for that. I took a break on personal readings for a moment just because of some, like, device and personal stuff. And I'm going to take breaks from them periodically, which is exactly what I just said in this reading. Like, give yourself permission to do whatever is necessary to live a healthy life. So, all right. I will see you later. Okay, bye.